I'm Sam Oches, editor-in-chief of Nation's Restaurant News, and I'm here with Trey Dyer, the CEO of Mesero. Trey, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's talk about Mesero, what this brand is. For those not familiar with Mesero, what is the restaurant?
So Mesero is somewhere between Mexican, Tex-Mex, and American. There's something on the menu for everyone. I mean, we have your traditional Tex-Mex enchiladas, tacos, but we also have a chili dog. We have seared tuna, and so there's something for everyone on our menu.
And it's full-service restaurant, definitely more of an upscale experience.
Full service, we've got 7 locations, and our focus is on the guest experience and the food quality.
Sure. Let's talk about the guest experience, because, I mean, that's such a topic of conversation today, especially when you talk about things like technology and ways in which you can engage the guests. But, you know, you mentioned that being so important to Mesero. How would you describe the guest experience?
So we don't employ food runners, we don't employ drink runners. We want you to engage with your server from the time that you sit down at the table. They bring your food, they bring your drinks, and that's really important to us because that's a connection that you make, and it's part of the reason you come back. Mm-hmm. You come back because you enjoyed your experience, but you also got to know the person who was serving you food.
So I imagine that makes labor very, very important to Mesero. So how's the last few years been going in finding that talent?
So we've been very fortunate that talent seems to find us, but we invest number one in our employees and number 2 in our technology. And because we invest so much in our technology, we're able to make the employees' lives a little easier. We're able to schedule them appropriately so everyone is working efficiently but also maximizing their own profitability.
So tell me about that piece of it, using technology for this, because you know some restaurants are looking at replacing employees with technology. I imagine that's not the direction you're wanting to go. So how do you leverage?
I tell every restaurant that wants to do that, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Because I want the service experience. I want that personal engagement. But we leverage technology to make sure that when utilizing our labor, we're doing it in the most efficient manner. We're making sure that on a Thursday night, we're with forecasted sales of X, because we've looked back at 15 weeks of Y. You have the appropriate number of cooks and chefs and bussers and servers, so that it runs seamlessly to where you're not waiting for a drink, but there's not too many people where they're just sitting around doing nothing.
Right, sure. I've heard a number of people this week talk about this idea of tech being kind of invisible. I imagine this is on par with what you guys are thinking, that the tech isn't necessarily supposed to be very customer forward.
Correct. I mean, the customer doesn't know how much actually really goes into our decisions to handle our labor or handle our food costs, but we leverage our technology to make sure that we're doing it as best we can.
Sure.
So it is not customer facing at all.
Sure. How are you investing in your employees to make sure that, if you get some strong talent who's creating that hospitable experience, how do you make sure they stick around and make Mesero a place they're at for a while?
So every one of our managers, we're homegrown.
Okay.
There's no outside hires. So some of my managers started as a busser and have now moved their way up, went from server to bartender to assistant manager to GM. We've had the same thing come up through with our back of house. We're very homegrown, so we're constantly looking for that next person who's going to take the Mesero experience onto our customers.
So I imagine then your employees see that pipeline, they understand that trajectory that they could go on, and that helps them stick around.
Yes. I mean, we ask almost weekly, like, who wants to, take it to the next level? To be a server isn't a career. Mm-hmm. It's transient by nature. Mm-hmm. But to actually get into management, start understanding how things work and how things flow and the reasons why your manager does A or B, that becomes a career.
Sure. What's your process of finding technology to employ at Mesero? I mean, how do you find the right tools? Because there's a lot of, here at the show, at the NRA show, I mean, there's an entire pavilion. It's overwhelming how much tech there is.
There's a lot.
What are you looking for? Like, how do you find that right thing?
It's constantly trying to find the right thing that works for us to make the manager's life easier, the employee's life easier, because all I really want them to do is to take care of the guests. And if you're taking care of the guests will take care of you, and it just ultimately makes the whole thing come together. So, we look at tons of different technology every day, and if there's something better, we're not afraid to try it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that comes from the, I didn't grow up in this industry. I'm a lawyer by trade. So it's more about what can we make sure we are doing to make sure we're doing it as efficiently as possible.
You were telling me earlier about just how intensely loyal your guests are to Mesero. How do you foster that loyalty? How do you ensure that people are having the experience they want to come back for?
Well, I mean, it starts with the server. It starts with the hostess. It starts with the manager. It's that they feel like one of our locations, the first location we have under the Mesero brand, has a sign outside. It says home. And when we first put it up, I didn't really understand what we were going to try and get out of it. But what we got out of it was you feel like you are at home. And while this person may be serving you, they're part of a bigger family, and you're part of that family as a guest.
So they want to come back again and again because they feel like home, this is their place to be.
And truthfully, there's something on my menu for about everyone.
Yeah.
We're that restaurant where if kids are fighting and mom and dad don't, like, everyone's suggesting different restaurants, you throw out Mesero, everyone goes, I have something on that menu, I'll eat. Yes, let's go.
That sounds like an A+ for my family. I need one of those. So tell me about Mesero. What's the growth trajectory look like? What do you expect for this brand?
So currently we're DFW based, and we're working on expanding outside of Texas. And truthfully, I'm hoping to do 2 to 4 restaurants every year for the next 5 or 6 and just see where it goes.
Seems to me like, after the last couple of years, the full service industry has really rebounded and then some. I mean, it seems like customers just want somewhere to be, to go dine, to have that experience.
Well, I mean, it's like the digital menus or the QSR menus. Like, people really don't like those.
Yeah.
Like, they want that experience where they're sitting down, they're getting taken care of, and people recognize that they're paying a premium for good food, good service, a good atmosphere, and it just makes everyone happier.
Yeah, absolutely. As you grow, what are some of the most significant challenges that you think are going to prevent that growth?
How do I transplant what we've built in DFW to markets like Oklahoma City, Salt Lake City, Nashville? Like, how do we bring that and make sure that that experience truly transplants easily? That's what scares me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, talking about technology especially, your systems have to scale too. So what work do you put in now to ensure that your systems and all of that can scale?
So we basically make sure that the systems we have in place are robust enough to scale, to make sure that as we grow, our labor technology recognizes what different rules are and laws are in different states, and our POS technology understands what different sales taxes are and who charges what. How you can make sure that if you need to charge a little bit more in one market, you need a POS system that can let you do that very seamlessly and easily.
What are you most excited about for the future? What are the opportunities you're looking at right now that you're really excited to get into?
I'm excited about growth again.
Yeah.
I was on a path to doing 2 restaurants a year till 2019. Opened up in November of 2019. 20 hit, and then it was 2022 before I opened my next restaurant.
Yeah.
and now we're kind of getting back into the growth phase again, and that's the exciting part.
Sure. Trey Dyer of Mesero, appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.